Hello everybody, I'm Count Christo, and while you probably know me best for playing Paradox games, I am also a Dungeon Master in the excellent game Dungeons and Dragons. You're probably at least tacitly familiar with this game, and I'm not going to introduce you to the very concept today, but I am going to start uploading session recaps for my campaign on YouTube, and recording some of my session prep over on Twitch. Probably won't upload the session prep to YouTube because that'll be a lot of conversations with chat. One of my viewers gave me this idea during the Mayo and Taxes campaign, and I think it's a good idea. Doing session prep on Twitch means I can get people's input, I can steal people's ideas, I can, have devious traps invented by chat, which seems like a great idea. And sharing my session recaps with you guys will help me. You guys can give input, you can give suggestions, and it means that I can, just share it with you, which I like doing, in case you weren't familiar with the concept of a YouTuber. So, without further ado, the first campaign I ever DM'd, I played one single game of D&D, one single one-shot of D&D before I started DMing this campaign, so I'm fairly new. The campaign's been going on for about a year now? No, it's been going on for about, I would say, 10 months at this point. We play about once a week, and our sessions are usually 3 to 4 hours long, which is less long than I would like, but responsibilities and life and all that good stuff. This is a campaign that takes place in what should be fairly familiar to a lot of D&D players. It's called the Forgotten Realms is the setting. Which is a fairly classic D&D setting. We are running a Lost Mine of Phandelver setting game. This is Fandolin. Phandelver is something else. This is Fandolin, which is a central town to the story, but it's heavily homebrewed. What homebrewed means is I make up stuff as I go along, and sometimes before sessions and sometimes during sessions, and it's a really good time. So I'm going to talk you through, it's not going to be a very long video, but I'm going to talk you through kind of pretty much what's happened so far. So first off, and I should mention, if you are one of my players, you are allowed to watch this video. This video will not contain spoilers. There you go. So you can watch. So first off, let's introduce the cast. Here we go. This is Ethelred the Brave. Ethelred is a half-elf paladin. He is played by Adaway, if you know him. Historiograph Adaway. He's a great guy. And this is his character. Ethelred the Brave, formerly Ethelred the Bastard, he changed his moniker recently in the campaign, is an interesting character. He's fairly straightforward. He likes getting into politicking. He's extraordinarily charismatic. The party is level 5 at the moment. He's extraordinarily charismatic with +7 charisma, intimidation, and deception, and +7 on charisma saves, +4 base modifier. He's quite the beast when it comes to persuading people with his silver tongue. He has a magical longsword that he acquired at one point, and he's gone. I can't remember exactly how it works, but he's gone channel divinity in his path, and he's rebuking the violent. He's divine smiting. He's a cool character. He's kind of a tank for the party because he has a pretty hefty 18 armor class. But he, if possible, he wants to solve situations with his words, orchestrate coups, that kind of thing. Next up, we have Delanor, the High Elf Wizard, level 4 Sorcerer, level 1, which is no longer a spoiler to the party. Is incredibly full of himself, incredibly high opinion of his own intelligence, but tends to act in a fairly stupid way. He's a charge in, questions later, steal, thieve, fight first kind of wizard, and he tends to try and use big AoE spells to turn combat in the party's favor, and he just loves the sound of his own name. Then there is Porro Brownlock, as played by Colonel RPG, for those of you familiar with his excellent work on YouTube. He is an insightful little kind of classic chaotic neutrally type character, a Lightfoot halfling druid. His wild shape has been invaluable to the party. He tends to be less in favor of talking things out than some of the other members of the party. He's a bit of a fight first, ask questions later kind of guy. He uses a scythe to great effect in combat. And the last main current player of the campaign is Thranrir, as played by Lord Lambert, if you're familiar with him on YouTube. He is an acrobatic stealth god with pass without trace plus his survival modifier. He can get a plus 20 to stealth rolls. That means that he can succeed some of the hardest rolls. Even if he rolls a 10, he can pass some of the traditional hardest rolls possible to get in the game on stealth. He is a stealthy god. He does not, however, utilize this stealth for misdeeds much. He's not really a thief type character. He mostly is all about dealing sick criticals in combat. He also gets involved in some politicking, some talking with Ethelred as well. He's a bit more interested in loot than some of the other members of the party. Porro is not very interested in loot at all. We do have two other characters. Firstly, Foldwin, who was a character also made by Lambert during a one-shot. That is, he's not actively traveling with the party, but he's one of their allies at the moment. And Pyro, who was played by a character who sadly had to leave, he is currently missing, whereabouts unknown. I'm sure he can become relevant at some later date. So let's go through the story so far. The story began following the story of the Lost Mine of Phandelver. So careful, if you've not played The Lost Mine of Phandelver and you may want to play it in the future, you may not want to watch because this will contain heavy spoilers for the first 2 acts of The Lost Mine of Phandelver, a little bit in the 3rd act as well. So the party is heading from Neverwinter down to Fandolin, and I change how I pronounce names every session just to get at my party. They're heading from Neverwinter down to Fandolin, and on the road they are attacked by goblins, which they fight off. Normally, in the Lost Mine of Phandelver, you would follow the tracks that the goblins laid to the Cragmore hideout. They failed to find the tracks rather spectacularly, and so went straight to Act 2, only to complete the content in Act 2, all of it, before they completed any of the content in Act 1, which made things interesting, but that's fine. So then they made it to Fandolin, and let me show you the map for Fandolin. So here's Fandolin. Fandolin. We'll mix it up. So here's Fandolin, and they arrived on the wrong path, I noticed afterwards, because they arrived from the north. But various stuff takes place in Fandolin. I'm not going to go into huge detail, but the party at one point intimidates Barthen into letting them use his bed. They have a fight at the Sleeping Giant. They make friends with Sister Grielle from the Shrine of Luck. They also strike a deal with Halia of the Phandelvan Miners Exchange. Now, Halia wants them to get rid of these bandits who they don't know yet, but are holed up in Tressendar Manor, because she reckons if they get rid of the bandits, then she might be able to swoop in and take control. And this appeals to the party. They like the idea of a coup. So they head over eventually to Tressendar Manor, into the Redbrand hideout there. And in the hideout, there is a pretty protracted fight. They spent like 3 sessions in here. And they find a Nothic, which is a fell creature of dark magic down here. And they fight their way through lots of different creatures and eventually find their way to a guy called Glassstaff. Now, Glassstaff is the leader of the local banditry. And after defeating him in combat, the party then learns that he has been sending slaves to someone called Cragmore Castle, which is nearby, and that he was sent here to disrupt activity in Phandolin on behalf of someone known only as the Black Spider. This is all they've learned about the Black Spider, pretty much, so far. They free some prisoners in here, fight the Nothic, and manage to make their way back out into Phandolin. In Fandolin, they confront the mayor, who they learnt had been working with the Red Brands, and drive him out of town. They don't execute him or anything like that. They just say, like, okay, right, in the clothes you're standing up in, get out. And they cast him out into the woods, presumably to be devoured by wild beasts. Then they finish and orchestrate Harlia's coup, and Harlia is installed as the new townmaster, and the heroes of our party are recognized as the heroes of Fandolin. They get their honors, and they are raised up, and there are 3 days of carnival and celebration. The town has been liberated. Excellent stuff. Now, they were sent here by someone called Gundren Rockseeker, and he's been missing. But they reckon that they might be able to find him if they can retrace their steps and find the... what's now showing up as the lumber camp. While in Tressendar Manor, they make friends with an orc. Sorry, not an orc. Oh, what the heck has happened to my screen capture? I hope it wasn't like that the whole time. But it might have been. Hang on a second. Was it like this the whole time? This is going to be a really good video if it was like that the whole time. I don't think it was, though, because I remember looking up and seeing that it was okay. Hang on. I apologize. Here, I'll pause recording. Give me a second. Okay, sorry, not sure what that was. It seems like the issue was only actually showing up in my OBS. It seemed looked fine on the stream VOD, so hopefully that's all good. Anyway, they found a goblin called Droop, who was being mistreated by some bugbears under Tressendar Manor, and they made friends with him, and he agreed that he would lead them on the world map. Oop, reload. He agreed that he would lead them on the world map, there we go, to what the heck has just happened to my world map? Why are the hexes all wrong? And where have my pins gone? Why is it loaded 2 maps simultaneously? Let's see if we can fix that. There we go. To the Cragmore hideout, where Droop says is where the people doing raids on the road have been taking their prisoners and things. So they go to Cragmore hideout, which is this place. And this place looks rather unfriendly at the moment, but I assure you it is not. They make it to Cragmore hideout, and they go inside and they fight their way through a bunch of the goblins are down here, until they are confronted by their leader. Can't remember what it's called. Gork. Let's call him Gork. And they fight Gork and defeat him, at which point Delanor gets his hands on Gork's mace. Now, Gork's mace is possessed. Not possessed, but it's the weapon of a dark demon. And Delanor makes a pact with this dark demon, thereby becoming a sorcerer. This will become relevant later on. And yes, he becomes a sorcerer and not a warlock. There will be no questioning. He is touched by the primordial power within Gork, which gives him sorcerous abilities. Then they came over here and they found another collection of goblins, as well as their leader. And after intimidating and terrifying the goblins by Ethelred's glorious persuasion and performance rolls, they kill the leader and then enslave the rest of the goblins, or kind of enslave, kind of employ, with Droop, this is Droop here, as their leader. The goblins turn this place into a lumber camp. So now they have a lumber camp. Party heads back to Fandolin to negotiate with Halia about the export of wood from their lumber camp. And they set up an export to Fandolin so that Fandolin can use it to start rebuilding the town, because the town was running on hard times while the Red Brand ruffians operating out of Tressendar Manor were causing them problems. So now the party has a slight steady income stream. It's not very big, but they have something of a steady income stream. And Fandolin has a ready supply of good lumber. Next, the party decided to set out to the north towards Coney Berry, because they knew that there were orcs attacking the road around here on the Tribord Trail. And while they were on the road, is it this one? No, that's a different one. Is it Travel? Yeah. They came across, or is it Travel 1? I can't remember which of these maps was the actual fight. Anyway, I'll just use this one. So they come across they indeed get attacked by orcs on the road, and the orcs appear to be using ogres in order to do a lot of their fighting for them. First thing they come across is a wild ogre, and the ogres seem to be kind of drunk or berserk, and they fight a bunch of ogres, and they fight some orcs, and then when they arrive at Coney Berry, they're told that the attacks from the orcs had been manageable until they started being joined by ogres, and the ogres were a recent addition to these attacks, and because of them, Coney Berry is on its last legs. One more attack and a Coney Berry is finished. So the party sets off with a young hunter from Coney Berry, just a boy, into the woods to where the orc camp is. But before they can arrive at the camp, the party sees another raiding party going towards Coney Berry. Before they can get there, Coney Berry is burnt to the ground. The orcs and trolls have destroyed it. But while the orcs and trolls are going back towards their camp, the party ambushes them and kills them. During the fight, Delanor is badly hurt because he drank this potion he sniffed this potion that the orcs were feeding to the trolls to make the trolls go wild. And while under the effects of this potion, he attacks the party. The party retaliates and puts Delanor at death's door. He then had to roll death saves to see if his own party would kill him while he was berserk on orc, berserker potion. He rolled a nat 1, which means he progressed twice towards dying. So if he'd rolled once more and got lower than a 10, he would have died on the spot. Realizing what an incredible bind he was in, he called out to Gork, or whatever I named him, the orc chaotic deity that he had made this sorceress pact with, and got the deity to bring him back to life. However, the price was substantial. Indeed, it was his soul. So, having promised his soul, Delanor comes back to life, and comes back and is pretty not chill about the situation. But there's not much they can do, and the party decides that in order to rid the land of the orcs and their troll allies, what they need to do is gather a proper army. So they head down to Fandolin and try and think, where can we go? Where can we go that we could raise an army? And they've heard that in Lilion, which is where most of the party came from Neverwinter, but Delanor actually came from Lille, the port of Lilion, into Lilion and there to Fandolin. And while in Lilion, he learnt that in Lilion there were two mercenary bands, the Orcs' Tusks and the Lancers of Lilion. They decide they're going to try and hire one of these mercenary bands to help them kill off all the people up here. And Halia from Fandolin tells them that if they can get one of those mercenary bands to help them, what they can do is pay the mercenary band in land. Because this land up here, no one really lives here now. Coney Berry's been wiped out. So what they're going to do is promise the mercenary bands land and wealth and a place to settle in exchange for clearing out the orcs and the trolls. So they head into Lilion. As you will see, there is currently a huge battle taking place in Lilion, which I've yet to set up properly, which is why there's all these weird health bars. But don't worry about that. They arrive in Lilion and speak to the Orcs' Tusks and the Lancers of Lilion. And they discover that the Orcs' Tusks are not really willing to help them. And the Lancers of Lilion aren't too keen on it either. However, eventually they manage to steal the Orcs' Tusks' ledger. The ledger of all of the things that the Orcs' Tusks have been employed to do. And they read that the Duke of Ostenwald has hired the Orc Tusks for 2,000 gold to go to Lilion and fix the magical problems plaguing the town. Because in Lilion, whenever you try and cast a spell, whatever you meant it to do, it does the opposite. And it's been this way for hundreds of years. And the Duke of Ostenwald, their power in Ostenwald is based on magic, and they can't expand their influence over here to Lilion because magic doesn't work here. So they want the Orcs' Tusks to clear out the magical problem. So the party decides, ho ho, we will cheat the Orcs' Tusks, we will fix the magical problem in Lilion, and we will use the gold to pay the Lancers of Lilion a deposit, which will then encourage them to come and help us clear out the orcs and trolls, and then have the Lancers of Lilion settle in Coney Berry. perfect. What could go wrong? They discover that the problems in Lilion are caused because in the tower there is an elemental. An air elemental is trapped in the basement of this tower, and a water elemental is trapped in the sky high above Idle Island. And these two elementals are locked in a perpetual battle. And so what they do is they make a deal with the air elemental that they're going to kill the water elemental for him. This will end the crisis in the town, and that all will be well. The party tells the air elemental to cease his assault on the water elemental so that the party can get close and fight him without problems. And then marshal his power. And the air elemental gives them 48 hours to kill the water elemental, or he'll release a huge blast of his power that he's been storing up rather than using constantly, which would destroy the town. So they fight the water elemental, and when they get him to half health, the air elemental blasts him with his power, which sends some of the party flying out into the sea. And one of the party, Ethelred, very nearly drowns on his way back. He's in heavy armor and carrying a pack and things, and he gets fairly close to death. Some of the other members of the party had tied themselves to trees in anticipation that there might be kind of strong winds and stuff involved. But he does survive, and he makes it back fairly narrowly. And then the party set off to Ostenwald in order to collect their money. So they head to Ostenwald. On the road, which I think is this one? No, it's Road by the Sea. On the road, they come across a beast, an aboleth. An aboleth, which should be bigger than that, but that's okay. An aboleth and its many tentacles, and have a tense fight by the sea in which, again, one of the party members almost dies because the aboleth has the ability to charm. And so things get pretty heated at various points, but they manage to survive. They don't kill it, however, they just drive it back into the deep. And then it's on to Ostenwald. Here we are in Ostenwald. And they head to the market square and learn various things about Ostenwald. First thing they learn is that many of the merchants look the same, but I'll fix that. They learn from this butler of the Jinweir family that they do indeed get paid by him, and they learn that there is a power struggle of sorts going on in Ostenwald. There are 3 powerful magical families, and they're all kind of tied for control, so there is no true Duke of Ostenwald. The Duke is the head of the most powerful family, but because none of the 3 families is more powerful than the other 2, no one can declare themselves the most powerful family. They also learn that everything in Ostenwald is extraordinarily expensive, and the whole place seems infused with potent magical power. These 3 ruling families use their power to make Ostenwald fantastically wealthy, and it's really rich. It's got no walls. It has no need to defend itself with walls or town guards, because the magicians of this place, sorcerers as it turns out, are incredibly powerful. And then the party heads out back to Lilion to deliver the good news to the Lancers of Lilion that they've got their deposit, and take them north to deal with Coney Berry. Unfortunately, as the party arrives, a massive fight has broken out, and one of the townspeople runs out to inform the party that the Orcs' tusks, realizing that they had been cheated by people mostly seen hanging around the Lancers of Lilion because they had their ledgers stolen and their contract filched from them, have broken out into open conflict with the Lancers of Lilion. And as you can see, a huge brawl is taking place in which Orcs are fighting men. The Lancers of Lilion are desperately trying to defend themselves against the Orcs' tusks. And the Orcs' tusks, I haven't set it up down here yet, but the Orcs' tusks are indiscriminate in their violence. They're also butchering local people. And that is where the campaign currently stands. I need to tweak this. Oh, is my computer crashing? No? Okay, it's back. I probably should have turned off my Bitcoin farming while I recorded this, huh? Anyway, can I come to this? Using a text. Okay, well it's stopped functioning for some reason, but that's okay because we have reached the present day. So that's the current state of the campaign. What's going to happen next? Well, a huge combat with the Orcs' tusks. There's going to be a fell battle is going to take place. I don't know why this isn't why this isn't functioning, but that doesn't matter. There's going to be a huge battle with the orcs' tusks, and then the surviving Lance of Lion will hopefully still be amenable to the idea of going north and dealing with the orcs and ogres that their party is fighting up there. If you're interested in seeing me doing session prep for this campaign, you can catch that on Twitch. And if you're interested in seeing some more session recaps, which will obviously be in much more detail than this one because the events will be fresher to my mind and I'll have notes and stuff, whereas this was all just from memory, then you can stay tuned on YouTube. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't tried Dungeons & Dragons, go and look for a group to play it with online. It's an extremely, extremely good game. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.